Imagine that this blue line represents the sea, and on that sea floats a small boat. Inside that boat is you. As you sail, you can clearly see what's on the surface of the water. What do you notice first? Usually, we see waste, what the Japanese call muda. So what do you do then? You reach for tools like 5S, Kaizen, Kanban, and other methods of continuous improvement. But beneath the surface, there's much more. Hidden problems. Far more important, yet invisible at first glance. The Japanese call them muri and mura, overburden and instability. And beyond that lies something even deeper, the lack of genuine engagement within the team. These hidden areas are many times larger than what we see above the surface. So, what about the tools? It turns out that the effectiveness of lean tools depends strongly on the level of organizational culture and the sense of mutual respect within the team. And that's exactly where LeanShaman comes in. LeanShaman helps uncover deeply hidden obstacles and creates the perfect environment for lean tools to truly work. LeanShaman is an incubator of a continuous improvement mindset, a space where even complex changes find their natural way to realization. In a moment, I will show you a simple graph. It explains a very common phenomenon, the relationship between motivation and the feeling of success. The horizontal axis represents time. The vertical axis shows motivation. The higher we go, the stronger the motivation. Here's the starting point, a green dot. This is my initial motivation level. Now let's add a blue line. This is the level I want to reach. Time begins. Nothing changes at first. My motivation stays at the same level. Now imagine this. I achieve a small personal win, something simple but successful. Every small win adds energy, and motivation begins to slowly rise. The interesting part is this. The size of the win does not matter. What matters is frequency. Small wins. Repeated often, create progress. But what happens when I fail? My motivation drops, and it drops fast. Failure hurts motivation much more than success improves it. One failure can push me almost back to the start. Now I must rebuild. I must collect more small wins to return to my previous level. And if I face another failure, the same thing happens again. Motivation falls, rises, falls, rises. It fluctuates over time. So what is the key to long-term motivation? It's simple. Avoid unnecessary failures and create more chances for small, daily wins. These small steps build momentum, and momentum drives progress. Why am I showing this? Because LeanShaman is built on this principle. We use small, daily wins to build strong motivation. Step by step, day by day. Change becomes natural. LeanShaman is based on the FOG behavioral model. Let's take a look at the illustration of this model. The horizontal axis represents the effort required to perform an action. The further left you go, the harder the task. The further right, the easier it becomes. The vertical axis shows the level of motivation. The higher it is, the stronger the motivation. Let's do a quick experiment. Imagine you have a simple task to do. Let's say, raising your hand. Can you raise your hand for a moment? I assume you had enough motivation to do that. On the chart, I'll mark this action with a green dot. It's an easy task, so it's on the right side. Now let's try something else. Do 10 squats. Can you do it? Probably yes. But did you actually do it? I guess not. I'll mark that task with a red dot, closer to the left side because it's harder and a bit higher, since it requires more motivation. Professor B.J. Fogg noticed that on such a chart we can draw a line, the activation threshold, which separates the zone of success from the zone of failure. When a trigger happens above this curve, elicita some experience, we check destroy, it leads to success. Those are the green dots. Triggers that fall below the curve are doomed to fail. Those are the red ones. The green area you see is the success zone. LeanShaman analyzes daily behaviors to keep teams operating within this zone. And that's exactly how LeanShaman builds the habit of continuous improvement, day by day, in a simple, natural way. How does the LeanShaman path of intrinsic motivation work? And why does it actually work? Let's apply B.J. Fogg's behavioral model, not to a person, but to an organization. Imagine that the horizontal axis represents the difficulty of ideas. On the left side, we have big and complex ideas. On the right, small ideas, easy to implement and simple to act on. The vertical axis represents the level of organizational culture, a combination of engagement, motivation, skills, and experience across the team. Now, let's draw Fogg's activation line. An organization can only implement ideas that lie above its activation threshold. Ideas below that line are doomed to fail from the very beginning. Let's mark a specific area. The one organizations usually aim for. This is the zone of large, complex ideas, the ones that bring the highest financial benefits. But executing such ideas requires a highly developed culture. So how do most organizations try to reach that goal? Let's assume the company starts from a point of low engagement. It tries to motivate people with external incentives, bonuses or rewards. An employee comes up with a valuable idea, but the team simply isn't ready, not mentally, not culturally. That failure leads to a drop in intrinsic motivation. The company tries again, but the result is the same, because the problem isn't in the ideas, it's in the organizational culture itself. Without developing culture, even the best ideas remain out of reach. So, is there a solution? Let's mark another area where the organizational culture is mature enough to support both small and large ideas. This is where the LeanShaman path begins. Let's say we start at the point of zero motivation. First, we make it extremely easy to submit and automatically implement small, safe ideas. Each one builds a little success, a spark of intrinsic motivation. We focus on micro successes. The more we implement, the more experience the organization gains. Step by step, we elevate the culture. Only then, when we reach the right level, do we shift our focus to the business goals. This way, we move systematically and consistently toward success, minimizing the risk of failure. That's how LeanShaman works. Like LeanShaman, it uses the chain motivation mechanism. Imagine an employee who comes up with an idea. Within seconds, they submit it through their smartphone, a tablet on the shop floor, or a company computer. The idea enters the system. The system automatically analyzes it, checking safety, impact scale, and the possibility of a quick rollback. If the idea passes verification, it's implemented directly by the author, through the fast-track path. Once implemented, it becomes the author's personal success, but that's just the beginning. We turn this individual triumph into fuel for the team. We amplify the success to create motivational impulses, inspiring others, and sparking new ideas. The system analyzes individual behaviors and adjusts motivational triggers for each employee. Every new initiative repeats the cycle. Automatic analysis, fast implementation, celebration, reinforcement of success. inspiration for others? What happens when this process loops endlessly? When the positive feedback gains momentum, it starts to work like a perpetual motion machine. And what about ideas that require caution? When the system detects potential risk, the idea moves to the risk track. Then, LeanShaman automatically selects an interdisciplinary team, the people needed to make decisions and carry out the implementation. The system then generates tasks, optimizes the schedule, and monitors each step of the process. All of this happens with the help of a personal assistant, guiding every participant along an automatically defined path. Eventually, the idea is implemented and becomes a shared success. In essence, we are spinning two parallel flywheels. The small loop fuels daily empowerment, builds competence, and develops experience. It represents about 86% of all ideas. The large loop converts creativity into measurable results, profits, and competitive advantage. Roughly 14% of all ideas belong here. Interestingly, many ideas from the small loop evolve into real innovations or generate surprisingly high savings. That's how LeanShaman works, an incubator of continuous improvement habits. How does LeanShaman solve the problem of no time among managers? Let's take a look at the schedules of two typical supervisors. As we know, most leaders have very limited time for what's seen as non-urgent matters. Their days are filled with back-to-back meetings, separated only by a few short breaks. But what happens when an employee submits a new idea? Let's take an example. Implementing an idea usually requires 3 actions. 2 of them are quick, 1-minute tasks. The third one, however, is complex. It needs analysis and a group decision. The first 2 can easily fit between meetings. But what about that time-consuming third step? Unfortunately, it often ends up at the bottom of the list, waiting for weeks, and sometimes never getting done at all. As a result, a good idea fades away. And with it, so does the team's enthusiasm and inner motivation. So, how can we solve this problem systematically? LeanShaman applies a method called micro-fragmentation of tasks. Let's go back to our example. The proposed idea still consists of 3 actions, but we break the long one down into smaller pieces. Now, instead of one big task, we have a dozen tiny micro-tasks, and that changes everything. Each micro-task can be done between meetings, without overloading the calendar. Small steps require less effort, reducing the psychological barrier to action. Regular micro-actions build consistency and create a flow of micro-successes. Every completed task gives a boost of positive energy. Step by step, the team feels more in control. Their motivation grows naturally, and even complex ideas find their way to completion. These are the stages of building engagement according to the LeanShaman method. Based on BJ Fogg's behavioral model, let's place ease of implementation on the horizontal axis. On the right side, we have small, easy-to-implement improvements. On the left side, those that are harder and require more effort. The vertical axis shows the level of employee engagement across the organization. The higher we go, the greater the engagement. Now let's draw Fogg's activation threshold curve. Below this line lies the zone of failure, the area we want to avoid. Our goal is to operate above that threshold. The orange point marks the starting point of building the habit of continuous improvement. Our long-term goal is to reach the area of the most valuable improvements and a high level of engagement. The first step is a decision by the management team, a decision to focus on small changes. This is a key moment. It moves us rightward towards simpler improvements. The second step is to launch the habit incubator. Employees receive a tool that allows them to implement small improvements at scale. The third step is called spark, the breakthrough moment. A small group of volunteers forms the spark team, which together crosses the activation threshold. They ignite the spark of transformation and lead the organization into the success zone. Then, the spark team begins to engage others, organically and voluntarily. This is the stage of natural participation and growing collaboration. The fourth stage introduces reinforcing mechanisms, elements that strengthen and sustain motivation. They ensure that the culture of improvement becomes a lasting part of the organization. Finally, the last step is the systematic improvement of idea quality. This stage gradually moves the organization closer to its long-term goal. LeanShaman is the compass that keeps organizations moving steadily toward what truly matters.